We go out and we harvest every day the best things available and present them to you, so you don't have to go do it yourself.
That's right. Now, let me ask you, before I let you go, Bob, I do have one viewer question. I'm going to have to go off memory here. I don't have it in front of me, but his question was related to, I think, counterparty risk and general risk of mining shares. Being that they're paper products, what is the overall risk in your mind right now as we look at worldviews as it relates to silver and gold mining shares in companies versus physical metal? What would you suggest the allocation
There are no
should be?
risks.
You don't believe there's any risk?
You own part of a mine. And if the mine does well, the value of the securities will go up. It's as simple as that.
But let me ask you this, though. Let me press you just a little bit. Now, we've talked to Lindsey Williams, who has probably been more right than he's been wrong. And, of course, the Lindsey Williams and the Christian bashers are going to come out and leave comments here on our video because I brought up Lindsey Williams' name. But Lindsey is saying that those who are only in paper assets, even multimillionaires, in the next year or two are going to lose everything they have. So for those that are worried about paper assets, we just watched what happened to the people at MF Global. If they don't get their money back, they're in paper assets. It's stolen. It's gone. You can't get it back. So I guess the legitimate question remains.
But that's a wholly different situation. And how many years did Mr. Lindsey spend in the share or commodity brokerage business? How many years did he spend in business school?
Mm-hmm.
How many years did he work in business?
Mm-hmm. Well, but now I just want to, just one thing. He hasn't said don't buy mining shares. He's just saying paper assets are extremely risky.
It doesn't make any difference. As long as you know what the rules are, you know what the risks are. I have always kept people out of the commodity market and derivatives and calls and options. I forbid them to use them. And margin especially. I mean, why would you need a margin? There's no reason for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a very strong advocate. In fact, I buy gold and silver coins every month. And so I also believe in the shares because the shares are ownership in a company. I don't care whether it's paper or not. You own part of the company. When you have paper and, say, you buy $1 million worth of gold and all you get is a certificate, then you got to worry about the gold company going under. That wrote the certificates, which has happened very often over the past 30 or 40 years that I've been involved. And so there's nothing wrong with the mining shares.
What would your allocation?
I mean, if you really feel that's a problem, you can get certificates from the company.
Are you saying take delivery of your share certificates directly from your brokerage firm?
If that's the way you feel, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's smart.
You can do that.
I think that's
but
smart.
I don't think it's necessary at all. I've been doing this for 53 years. You're insured by SIPC as well.
Right. So as it pertains to asset allocation, let's say a guy's sitting on $100,000 as a round number, $100,000, and let's say somebody is committed to the idea of gold and silver, precious metals specifically. What would you suggest the allocation be as it pertains to mining shares versus physical bullion?
The word is suitability, and some people will come to you and say, Bob, I want to be in gold and silver. I want to have the most leverage possible without borrowing money. And the share is the place to be. Or they might come to you and say, no, what I want is I want kind of a middle-of-the-road approach. Would you recommend that I buy half in gold and silver coins and half in the shares? And that usually fits for most people. And so it all depends on the person. I have little old ladies come to me and say, I don't want coins. I don't want to keep them in the house. Somebody might rob me. And I don't understand, how you get the coins and all this stuff. Can you get me some stocks that are in gold and silver that might pay some dividends? It varies from person to person. There's no set percentage. I do not buy gold and silver shares because I don't want anybody to think that I have a personal interest in XYZ mining going up in price. But I do buy coins every month. I'm forced to do that if I want to participate because I've made the conscious decision that I am not going to compete with the people who I tell what to do.
Just to bridge back to Lindsey Williams, just briefly, because when I interviewed him last, he talked about 2012 being the year that's the beginning of the end for the New World Order, because they have made such a mess of this, and there's so much infighting and disagreement amongst the power brokers that their plans, which maybe got moved along far too quickly with 9/11 and everything else, and people are waking up now too quickly. Their plan for a New World Order may be falling apart. You think that might be true?
I've been saying it for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And it's a dichotomous situation between the elite in the United States and in Europe. I mean, they were the ones that run the show. And the Europeans, they say, we don't want to do that. And the Americans say, no, we want to do this. And that has been going on. There's a tremendous amount of infighting. And that's why you see so many of these people in Europe having worked for Goldman Sachs and J.P. Morgan Chase. And one other thing, when they formed the Eurozone, Italy and Greece came in a little later, and they didn't qualify. So what they did was they brought Goldman Sachs and J.P. Morgan Chase in, and they sold them derivatives, which made it look like their books were balanced, because they weren't. And they were behind the acceptance of these two nations in the Eurozone. And I wrote at the time, they should have never gotten in. And everybody else knew what was going on. And you know why they didn't say anything? They wanted this giant one-world union. And besides that, the tremendous trade opportunities, the money-making opportunities of having such a Eurozone.
Right.
Part greed, part one-world government.
Well, here's hoping to a 2012 that we all survive, that somehow we come out on the other end prosperous with our liberties intact, and to the fall of the New World Order. For as much fear and loathing as there has been and apprehension about 2012 and the Mayan calendar and all of that stuff, here's to hoping it really marks the new beginning for humanity, which is a fall of the New World Order and liberty worldwide. I just pray, I hope and pray that that's what we get.
Well, we're going to get it, but it's going to take longer. And it's not going to be easy, and there will be revolutions in countries, many of them. I mean, I get letters from all over the world. These people are saying, hey, we're ready to go.
Yeah. Especially
in Greece. I knew this 2 years ago. There's groups in Greece that are armed. They're ready to go against the government, and the government knows it. And every country's like that. Where they have no guns, well, I got news for you. People have guns. I think the only place I've run into where they don't is in England, where they have these cameras up on every corner watching everything that everybody does throughout the entire country. I mean, it's 1984.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely George Orwell's 1984. I can think of nowhere on the planet I'd rather be less than there. Probably the United States is going to be a close second. The benefit we have in the United States, though, is geographically we're so gigantic and spread out. They can't make us feel like we're that incubated, like fish in a fishbowl, like they can in a small place like Great Britain.
That's true.
So
or even Europe in total, even though it's about the same land area, you have all of the cultural and social differences between all the countries. And, people don't realize it because they've not lived for years in Europe as I have and speak their languages, that the people, even though they vote communist and they vote socialist and they vote democratic or slightly to the right and slightly to the left, they're all pretty conservative. They really are. In their way of life and their everyday things that they do. They're very conservative. I don't know what happens to them when they get to the ballot box. And incidentally, it's going to be very interesting now that Sarkozy in France has gotten himself really into a pickle with all this stuff that's going on. And plus the fact his ratings were down around 32 before that. And I don't think the socialist candidate's got a chance. His big challenge is going to come from Marine Le Pen. And this is going to be one election you're going to want to watch.
You kind of lost me for a second with the Sarkozy thing, because as much as I've got my finger on the pulse, just tell me what you meant by that.
Well, he's going to get blamed if this thing is ragged and critical and panic and crisis. No matter whether he's wrong or right, it doesn't make any difference. He's there. Who do you blame? The guy at the top. Plus, he had low ratings going in, which gives her a real shot at him. Whether it'll be successful or not, remains to be seen, but she stands in the same position that Ron Paul does.
Right.
Even if they don't win, they're going to pull everything into the middle.
Yeah, it's just shameful what they've been doing to Ron Paul, but he's continuing to break through. I think he's actually got a shot here.
I do too. I thought from the beginning, and we want him. We want him. The thing I dread is if he get elected, I don't want some telephone call and him saying, "I want you to come to Washington," and I say, He said, "The age is no excuse. I'm only 2 months older than you are. Come on."
You think you might get that call from Ron Paul?
I think so.
Yeah.
I've given him a lot of help, and besides that, I know what I'm talking about.
You know what, though? You've always said that you'd come back when the fight starts, and if Ron Paul becomes president, that's when the fight starts. That is the real deal. That's the opportunity for us to get our liberty back and turn this thing around. So you can stay at my place, Bob.
Well, I look at guys like Gingrich with $37 million from our government and giving them advice. I mean, you got to be kidding me. It's all payoffs.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what scumbags these people are. And there's people starving in America.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's shameful.
Living in their cars, and it's horrible.
It's shameful. Well, I'll tell you what the biggest shame is that these Republicans, these people that would identify themselves as conservatives are just such dupes. So now they're going to, fall hook, line, and sinker for Newt Gingrich? Mitt Romney's a front runner. Perry can't string a sentence together without falling asleep. So then they're going to say Mitt Romney's still the front runner. Oh, no, here comes Newt Gingrich. It's just ridiculous. These New World Order trash politicians, which long ago sold out, if people can't figure this out, then there's just no saving us.
Well, there is, because 50% of the people never make a decision about anything. They're functionally illiterate, and they just go along for the ride and hope that they can live their life out. And that's okay. If anything, that's the way God made it. And then there's people like us. We have the responsibility to save the nation. And it's as simple as that. And if we don't want to do it, that's okay. If we do, we'll obviously do it because we're here. And so we're going to do something about it, and that's our mission in life.
From your lips to God's ears, damn straight. Well, it's time for everybody to stand up and get involved. Start a blog and start speaking out.
Well, that means I can retire. I'd probably die.
Not so quickly. We still need you.
Anyway, you got a great program, and I love being on it. And I'm going to see you again very shortly.
We really appreciate your time, as always, sir.
Okay. Bye-bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Well, guys, thanks so much for watching, and thanks for all your support. And one additional note, please support Ron Paul's Money Bomb on December 16th. Get over to ronpaul2012.com and contribute whatever you can. Even $10 can make a big difference. Thanks for watching, and remember, we're all in this tyrannical mess together. Good night.